Okay, in this video, I want to just talk about cleaning up the typography just a bit. You don't have to make it perfect, but it might as well, since this is kind of following the type unit, it might be a good idea to think about how you would work with type in action. So in this particular case, I made kind of this title of the series. And then there's a date block, that's one hierarchical element, and then there's these bands, which I admit are terrible names for bands, but had to come up with something. So in any case, here is the setup. Kind of don't worry about the colors right now for the background. What I really want you to do is notice the difference in the type. This is with all of the fonts put in and all of the type sizes put in. But the defaults are in there in terms of left aligned or right aligned. Everything else that's going on here has been just cleaned up in terms of spacing is concerned. So that's what I want to show you here. So as we're looking at this, I think the first thing I'm going to do is just let's just select this mock-up real fast, and let's just pick that easier colors. It strikes me right now that it might be a little heavy on the eyes right now to have it like this. So let me just choose this block of color. Okay, good enough. Something that's just a little more subdued. All right, so to get started with this, I'll lock this down and open up the text layer. You'll notice that the text layer, it's all inside of one box. I just drew a box out when I put this in, and as I mentioned, the only thing I did is I really set the type sizes without doing much else. So let's deal with this first bit, which is getting Summer to tuck into Estes Park. You'll notice that right now it sits apart, and it makes it look like it has kind of what I call a cavity, a gap in an important part of the design. It's good to have white space, but you want to avoid white space in the middle of things, because white space in the middle tends to make the eye kind of stop moving. So if we look at this, notice how we use kind of the E to swoop down and build into the S. And then the concert just happens to sit really comfortably in between the S and the P here. So, you know, this is working pretty well. By the way, this is called small caps when you see type setup like this. So I'm going to just come back over here. So the first thing I need to do is I'm going to just highlight the line that has the summer concert series, and I'm going to adjust leading. Leading is the distance between the line that's selected and the line that's above it. First thing in Illustrator, that's a character property. So I'm going to pop open the character panel here, and you'll notice that leading, which is this upper right area, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see, leading right now it's set to auto, which means it's just going to take whatever the size of the type is, about 74 points, and it's going to add 20%. And it does that by default just so that everything spaces out. But auto leading isn't always the best way to work. Okay, so in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of that. And let's tuck this in. I'm going to just say, you know, that's 74 right now. Why don't I just say, what does this look like at 74? So if I press tab, we see it moves in a little bit. Let me actually, let's just click away, and I'm going to bring up the type menu. So here's the character panel here. Can I just get that out? Let's see here. Sorry, let me pull back. I'm going to go under Window, down to Type, Character. There it is. Let's just have it right next to us. And now we can zoom in a little bit. So as we're looking at this, let's tighten that up even more. Let's say maybe 60 points. Okay, and at 60 points, you can see now we're starting to get some of that overlap. The problem now is that we need to slide that over. Obviously we don't want the E and the S to collide. So to do that, that's going to be a paragraph property. And I'm going to just set the first line indent in a bit. And the first line of this paragraph, it could actually just be the left indent value as well. In this case, the paragraph only has one line, so it really doesn't matter. So let's put in something like 30 and press tab. And you can see here that it moves over a little bit. Let me pull back out. Let's try something like 50. And still not enough. Let's try 70. Okay, so now you can kind of see here. Now this looks like a unit, right? That looks pretty good. And conveniently, also the S and the 1 kind of line up. That's working well. Notice that down below, though, even though this is all right aligned down here, the 2021 and this stuff, the 1 looks like it's way too far in, don't you think? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this type that's underneath it. And again, this is a paragraph property. Let's do a right indent. And let's set that so that this comes in a bit. And now with it coming in, it kind of lines up there. It looks more like it belongs. If I click away, yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's the first set. Let's come back over and look at kind of how I was working on this. I tucked 2021 in, right? So I tucked it in vertically. So let's look at this. So again, I'm going to come in and highlight 2021. It's a leading change, so I'm going to come over to the character side, and right now it's an auto amount. Let's go ahead and just tuck this in. So I'm going to say 90 points. And 90 points actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to just leave it at that. Now the next block, June 22 through July 12th, that's going to be its own unit. So whenever you have your own unit, you might be tempted to just press return. But what I really want you to do is use paragraph spacing. Paragraph spacing is more nuanced and it's more adjustable. So in paragraphs here, I'm going to put in a space before for June 22nd. And let's put in an amount here. Let's try something like 100 points. What I'm doing is I'm kind of shooting for it to hit. I think what I want is I want it to come in, but I want it to fit in kind of this blue area. So 100 is too much. Let's go back to 50. That's still too much. Well, let's leave it at 25 for now. What I'll do next is I'm going to take this type. Let's tuck it in using our leading amount again, right? So the type is 72. Let's try something like 60. Really bring that in a bit. Can even go further. So 40. And you might say, well, why does this do this? Why is this working this way? The type isn't running into it, and yet the leading amount is smaller than the type size. Remember, your type size is the size of the entire font, from ascender down to descender. A new feature in Illustrator 2021 is you can actually have it give you point sizes in terms of cap height. So if I choose cap height, for example, notice that this is 48 points for the total cap height, which is a different amount. So this is kind of a nice way to be able to deal with these differences. So maybe what I'm going to do here is now just adjust leading on this hyphen line. And by the way, this isn't a hyphen. This is called an end dash. On a Mac, you get it when you press Option hyphen, and on a PC, you can get it if you go to the Type menu and then come down to Special Characters, Hyphens and Dashes. End dash, notice here, so it would be Alt hyphen, you can get it that way. An en dash is for duration. So whenever you're going between two things, like dates, you would put in an en dash, not a hyphen. All right, I'm digressing. So let's tuck this in just a bit more. So let's go something like half that distance, 20. Okay, so that's really too severe, right? So let's go something like 30. And then let's bring that hyphen out so it's no longer here. Let's get it visually so it's kind of in the middle. So instead of having it 20 in, let's set this to 50 and see what it looks like. Maybe 80. 100's too much, so maybe 90. All right, so that gets us closer. Maybe space just this letting amount out just a little bit more. Maybe let's set it back to 40 and just look at it there for a second. Okay, so that looks kind of nice. This looks like one unit, right? This looks like a different unit. Let's not worry about this for right now. So we've got these guys set up. It's running into the side of this mountain, so this is where we can do an adjustment with that pencil tool. So I'm going to just unlock mockup, make sure that this little guy is selected. And in fact, I might even lock down text so I don't get that. Get my pencil tool out, and then I'm going to just come in here and redraw this mountainside. So that it drops down. Okay, so now we've got that coming down, and that kind of occupies that June 22nd to July 12th thing. By the way, whenever I'm adjusting type, I always start from the top and work my way down, because it's kind of like dealing with a tube of toothpaste. If you start in the middle and then try to adjust the top and so forth, it's just a pain in the neck. So anyway, now let's finish with working on this type down below. So first thing, let's tighten up the leading again. I like that leading closer, so let's set this to something like 60-point leading, so that it's kind of a nice tight group here. And then notice I'm clicking on the top paragraph because I'm going to do space before on just that paragraph. So I'm going over to that paragraph setting. Let's set the space before. Now you can click this button, but boy, that takes forever. So let's come in and just set this to an amount. My goal here is to drop this down into this darker region. Okay, so let's set this to something like 70 points. Still not enough, right? So maybe 100, 120. Okay, so now we've got that in there. I'm pretty happy with the way that that type is now breaking, right? So we have this all kind of working naturally in here, and then we have a break, and then we're going to have this type. I'm just going to clean up again that mock-up just to kind of remind myself as I'm coming in to do my final work that I want this to look a little different. So again, I get out the pencil. Let's come in and maybe just stay away from that edge a little bit more. Oops, and you can see there I went too far, so it decided to rewrite that part. So I'm just going to follow it down. There we go. Oh, it's still doing that. Let me try it one more time. When it does this for you, come back and find a spot where it's kind of the same. Yeah, that's okay. So now I can just swing this around. I'll just carry this on, come over, come back. There you go. All right, so we did that one, and then just redo the trees just a little bit. Right, so again, we have that kind of new fidelity setting. So that's why things are a little different. There we go. That one did not work though, because it did not rewrite that. So let me try it again. Yeah, it's still being kind of goofy. There we go. Remember, you're just trying to rough this in. It's not critical to have these things perfect right now, but have some of the little things taken care of, like those little contrast issues. And again, you could do this any number of ways. You could go in and simplify your points or whatever. Now that I've got that set, let's pick a better color for that green anyway. There we go. Oh, that's kind of nice. All right. So hopefully this gave you some ideas of how you can deal with type. Again, if we look here, yeah, it's pretty similar to what I did in kind of my sample piece. The idea is to make distinct units, clumps, so it's easy to go, okay, this is one thing, this is one thing, this is one thing, right? So develop a hierarchy, and then the other thing that you want to shoot for is good enough contrast so that when this thing prints or it's on screen somewhere, you can read the type against the background, right? So if I, for example, if I were to set this text to black right now rather than white, it would work okay up in the sky, but look at how terrible that gets once we get down into the darker stuff. And I would keep it white anyway in the sky, because here's something. What do you see up in the sky? You don't see black things. You see white clouds, right? So this especially this type is kind of scripty and fluffy and cloud-like. Why not mimic a cloud? So pick up that color and have that be up in the sky, and then just carry that light color down into this darker color so that it stands out well. So contrast and hierarchy, those are things that you're shooting for. This is what you'll turn in for next week, right? This is just kind of this mocked up or blocked in layout. It doesn't need to be finished. I don't have any detail in those mountains. I don't have any detail in the house. I'd probably start adding some secondary items. So if I wanted to have some more detail in the mock-up, I might come in and let's see if I were to work with this. Let's do kind of a secondary shadow color. Let me pick up this color, and that's funny that it's picking up the text color. Sorry. Let's pick up that color and then just make it a little darker. This is kind of a nice little trick. So I'm just going to go over to color, and I can just work with HSB. So let's choose HSB, and I can just darken that up a bit. And this might be kind of my secondary set of colors that I would work with the mountains at this level, right? So as I'm building out here, I would just kind of draw out and get those colors. So let's eyedrop and sample that. And I would just keep on drawing with those. And you know, I could have some other colors here that are taking it. It keeps wanting to fill it with nothing, so I'd have to get those all eyedropped in. But this would be the next level, right? I might have some darker levels in here, darker levels down in this part too. Another trick that you can do, this is kind of a nice trick, is that when you're doing darker colors, like let's say this one is going to be darker, let's go ahead and pick up that color. And what I'm going to do is in the transparency panel, instead of normal, I could set this to multiply. And when I do multiply there, you can see it makes it darker. I could adjust this back a little bit. But the cool thing about that is now I could have a bunch of colors that are just going to be shadows. I could have a shadow layer on top of this. And let's just move up my shadows here. Just going to hold shift, move those from the mock-up layer up to shadow. And then let's set those to multiply, and yeah, about midway there. So as I'm drawing things on this layer, I can just have all of them have that kind of 50% shadow. So I could come in and build this out. And there we go. And then I would just sample all of those colors. So build this a little bit. You'll notice right now it's still, for whatever reason, it's closing with a fill of none, but that's okay. I can, once I have them built, I would just select across them and come back and choose the color that, let's do eyedropper. And you can see that the multiply section works for all of that. So that's how you could build this out. Again, this is for as you're finishing the piece. But for next week, let's just pretend that I haven't done any of that. For next week, it's going to be something like this. Okay. I hope this has been helpful. Let me know if you have questions.